Hello everyone. Hi, I'm Brando from Philippines, also known as BWANDOWANDO in the forums.
And I'm Kevin, better known as TheItCrOw from Germany.
And we are Team Bierbingka.
We're excited to present to you the Kaggle Chronicles, a comprehensive study of Kaggle's 15 years of competitions, community, and data science innovation.
So our chronicles consist of three major sections. So first, we will be discussing or we've researched into Kaggle user growth over the years and looked into not just the organic growth, but also fluctuations and spikes in the user registrations over the years.
Secondly, we investigate the Meta Kaggle code, a dataset which contains 10 years worth of code and 5.9 million notebooks kernels created by Kaggle users.
And thirdly, continuing with the discussions of Kaggle competitions, we've also looked into the topics that were being discussed within discussion forums across the years. So we'll be discussing the first section, which discusses user growth across 15 years of Kaggle user registration. We've analyzed the growth of users over the years and have identified spikes in the daily counts of registration. By identifying the spikes in user registration and not just the organic growth over time, we can gauge or even measure how influential Kaggle is in the data science space and how effective is its democratization through associated events, competitions, and collaborations with other platforms. Between 2015 and 2020, daily user registration began increasing more sharply. And last June 2017, there was a milestone where Kaggle had its first million or 1 millionth user in terms of registration.
When did you register, Brando?
I think it was last Q3 2017. I remember discussing it over the forums in another thread or in another platform, and where someone stated, "Have you joined Kaggle yet?" So, Kevin, when did you join Kaggle?
I think it was during the late COVID area, so probably 2023.
Yes. We also looked into that where, remember, COVID started last March 2020, but during COVID era, the number of users in Kaggle almost tripled from 4.2 million to 13.3 million. So imagine like having 3 times the amount of users in just a very short period of time. So we've associated this where during this period, people were most likely stuck at home and looking for opportunities and ways to upskill. But these are just organic growth. Looking into the registrations and plotting them across the years 2010 to 2025, there were spikes or unusual fluctuations in user registration and growth. So what we found out is that there are specific events within and outside Kaggle that have contributed into some of these spikes in user registration. And to refresh the listeners' memory is that, remember, recently we had this 5-day Gen AI intensive AI course where in just one day, 30,000 new users registered in one day, right? And during that time, the average user registration was only 17,000 users. So this section, we looked into these events, and we can conclude that whenever there is an official Kaggle event or collaboration with another platform, there were significant increases in new user signups.
So now let's get to investigating Kaggle code. So first off, Kaggle's kernels are predominantly written in Python with occasional usage of R.
No surprise there.
Yeah. We also investigate package imports and method calls and find a diverse range of packages and technologies being used, both in and out of competition kernels. So for now, let's focus specifically on competitions. First, we examine the evolution of imported packages in competition kernels. XGBoost dominated early years, later replaced by LightGBM, TensorFlow, and transformers. Packages like sklearn remain foundational, while newer entries such as AutoGluon, Optuna, and OpenAI indicate growing interest in AutoML and generative models. To our surprise, explainability libraries like Lime are also increasingly common. We investigate discrepancies between public and private leaderboard scores, outlining consistent gaps that highlight the risk of leaderboard overfitting in competitions. Using visualizations and more metric-based analysis, we show how real-world generalizability can differ massively from public leaderboard performance, specifically seen in competitions like Optiver and the M5 forecasting competition. However, this all sounds worse than it really is. Our analysis also shows that, on average, Kagglers produce only a 5 to 10% discrepancy between private and public leaderboard scores. Finally, we address one of the most burning questions. What technologies do winning Kagglers use? So for that, we extract technologies from roughly 4,000 solution write-ups using LLM-based parsing, showing that winning Kaggle solutions most frequently mention efficient net, light GBM, data augmentation, and assemble methods. Something which we found very surprising, given that, honestly, I've never heard of efficient net. And it's not really that prominent within kernels as well. So both classical
Yes.
and deep learning approaches coexist, with strong emphasis on training techniques such as cross-validation, label smoothing, and mix-up. We also demonstrate high entropy and a technological diversity in competition write-ups, both per competition and per year, with a steady increase observed over time.
In this section, we now shift our focus to identifying recurring themes of topics in Kaggle competition forum discussions. To minimize our scope, we've restricted and only focus on featured and research type competitions with at least 10,000 USD or equivalent prize pool. We use BERT topic for our topic modeling technique to extract the main themes from these discussions in competitions. And we found out that Kaggle competitions have always consistently focused on core machine learning topics and discussions such as model evaluation, loss functions, and data preprocessing. Over the years, discussions have expanded to include specialized and niche areas such as image generation, autonomous systems, and fraud detection. But despite evolving themes, the community's focus on practical, performance-driven strategies has remained strong and steadily grown. This is one of the competitions with the most number of participants in Kaggle history. The analyses of Kaggle competitions reveal consistent engagement with fundamental machine learning topics and techniques, and these themes have remained central across the years, reflecting their importance in achieving competitive results and, of course, to get that Grandmaster status. In general, the findings underscore the maturity and depth of the Kaggle community, as well as its ongoing collective effort to pursue high-quality, solution-driven, and collaboration in data science.
This is just an overview, as we just rushed through 31 pages of study, so always remember to read the whole study or at least look into the write-up.
Of course, all notebooks, datasets, and models we've created for this study are publicly available on Kaggle for your convenience.
Finally, we want to take this opportunity to thank Kaggle for making these metadata sets publicly available in the first place. I think it goes without saying that this is not a given.
Kevin and I, our team Bierbingka, would wish everyone in the community happy reading of our Kaggle Chronicles.